There's no way. I'm already so still burning. So hold me close now, baby. I do what I'm told. Still learning to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line. Yeah, you got me shifting the paradigm. No longer wishing, you're my lucky strike. Love the way you ride. Look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah, we could roll the dice. Act like you're surprised, but you already know. Oh yeah, got lucky overnight. Jackpot when I got the invite. Let me wrap my arms around you, cause I can't go home without you. And my heart just vibe with you, babe. Wanna go sky high with you, babe. Gotta bring you close to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. Cooler than cold, I'm all in. So load up the dice, so heavy. The way that you roll, I'm falling. So I never fall. I'm ready to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line. Yeah, you got me shifting the paradigm. No longer wishing, you're my lucky strike. Love the way you ride. Look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah, we could roll the dice. Act like you surprised, but you already know. You're my lucky strike, and I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. I can't let you go, there's no way. I'm already so still burning. So hold me close now, baby. I do what I'm told. Still learning to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line. Yeah, you got me shifting the paradigm. No longer wishing, you're my lucky strike. Love the way you ride. Look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah, we could roll the dice. Act like you're surprised, but you already know. Oh yeah, got lucky overnight. Jackpot when I got the invite. Let me wrap my arms around you, cause I can't go home without you. And my heart just vibe with you, babe. Wanna go sky high with you, babe. Gotta bring you close to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you.
All right, folks. Well, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune, because it's time for another week of the RecPoker podcast. I got to thank our sponsors, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino, because they've been with us since day one, and they've got a fun tournament series coming up in October, Hallow Scream, But don't get too scared. There's multiple day ones, and your buy-in is only $360. So I hope folks get a chance to go check that out from October 18th to 22nd. I got to thank our sponsors because most of what we do here at RecPoker is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization. And so I really appreciate the support of our sponsors and our premium members and the other members of the wrecking crew, like me, the folks that put their time in every day, every week, every month to make RecPoker great. My name is Jim Reed. I'm Blusterini in the home game and at RecPoker Jim on Twitter and Threads. And I've got the best freaking job in the world. I get to hang out here on Monday nights live on YouTube at 7:30 Eastern and talk to fantastic people in the poker world like Derek Tenbusch, who we're going to be speaking to in just a moment. But first, I have to tell y'all, if you want to find out more about me and the rest of the Wrecking Crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew, but you can also just listen up because you're going to meet a few of them right here tonight on the show.
So I am Ben Enslow. I'm BJM96 on Twitch. You can find my socials over there, and I'm East Coast Bidder in the home game.
And I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5B5 on Threads and Twitter.
I'm Joe Coolis. You can find me at Joe Cool PhD, cool with a K, or Elvita11 in the home game.
And I'm John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN, everywhere.
Kim Kilroy. I am Pet Vet 33, most places, Fergie 56 in the home game.
And I'm Rob Washam, and I'm Rabman 50, just about everywhere.
Hey, I'm Joseph Wills. I am hockey_poker on the app formerly known as Twitter, and I'm Hockey Poker 702 on the home game.
Right on. Well, thank you to all our Wrecking Crew members. Dreamwork makes the team work here at RecPoker, and we're having a fantastic time every Monday night, like I say, here on YouTube at 7:30 Eastern. We're going to give away a prize later as we draw awareness towards food insecurity in North America to help a food bank near us. But in the meantime, let's get right to the meat of the issue. It's Derek Tenbusch from Tournament Poker Edge. Derek, thanks so much for coming here on the RecPoker podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, well, I know you've been involved in the poker world for a long time, from playing professionally, starting the Tournament Poker Edge training site, which has spawned its own fantastic podcast hosted by Clayton Fletcher, which is amazing. We've enjoyed having him on the show as well. Now I know you're mostly spending your time streaming on Twitch, which is how our own Ben Enslow got a hold of you to send out the invitation to come on the show. Talk to me a little bit about sort of what you feel like has been your evolution throughout the poker world since you got started to this very day today.
Yeah. So I accidentally happened into poker kind of. I was living out in California, working in the music industry. And then I moved to North Carolina, continued working in the music industry for a couple of years before I was laid off. And I ended up really missing the sort of like community aspect of being involved in the music industry, going to shows 3, 4, 5 nights a week, hanging out with bands, hanging out with other people in the industry and stuff. And I was going crazy. I didn't really know what my next career was going to be. And I could not figure out what to do with my life. I was probably driving my wife insane. And we went out to dinner at a bar, and they had a flyer up for like a pub poker league. And I was like, I don't know. I used to play 5-card draw with my friends or whatever. I could go do that. So I just started going like 2 or 3 nights a week and playing poker. I really didn't know what I was doing. And then I really enjoyed it. And after doing that for a few months, then I think they trusted me enough to be like, hey, there's a game in the back for real money. And I was like, ooh, okay, this sounds good to me. And that kind of led me into online poker. But I think I pretty quickly realized that I was never really going to be great at poker. I didn't really have the study habits that were necessary. And I had so much other stuff going on that it was not something I could commit full time to. So, I mean, I played probably more than your average person, but not enough to really, I tried to always avoid calling myself a professional. I wavered between semi-professional and recreational, I think. But through that process, and kind of learning, getting on online poker, and I started hanging out in what were the 2+2 forums. I don't even know if those still exist anymore, but
yeah, but don't go there. It's a dark place right now.
Well, yeah, that kind of is how TP happened, because 2+2, at least at that time, was so, you'd post a hand and there'd be 20 responses that said fold pre and stuff like
Right.
that. And I was just like, I'm like, this feels so negative. And and I'm not trying to throw any shade at anybody or at them. It just wasn't a place for me. But I had posted up something on 2+2 at one point saying like, hey, this is my situation. Like, I'm married. I have a young son. I have a really good career, so I make pretty good money, but I'm playing like $5 tournaments because I don't think I'm good enough to play bigger, so on and so forth. And a guy just reached out to me out of the blue via private message and said, hey, I'm like exactly you. Like, we are the same person with the same questions and the same goals. And we got to kind of talking, and then from that, we basically created our own forum, which was called LOL Nice Squeeze. And it was kind of like an invite only. We just tried to keep it like small and positive. And there were like maybe 40 of us or 50 of us. And we would just talk hands and, share memes and do all the stuff that we all do in poker forums. And we had a meetup up in Atlantic City for the World Series of Poker, or World Series of Poker circuits. And this guy who had PM'd me on 2+2, Diego, we hung out most of the time, and we got to know each other better, but we also learned that like I'm a marketing guy from my background. He's like a sales and programming and tech guy. And we're like, we should start a business around poker. And we're like, yeah, great idea. But what would that be? So we actually made a list of probably 40 different ideas, some of which actually became poker businesses later, that we didn't start, but somebody eventually had the same idea.
That's such a terrible feeling, isn't it, though?
Yeah. Luckily, I don't think any of them lasted, so maybe we made the right choice.
Maybe, yeah.
But we eventually were just like, well, we should do a training site. But there were several training sites at that time, and we were both members of several of them. I think the first one I ever joined was Poker Savvy. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It goes way back. But we were always constantly frustrated because we were only No Limit Hold'em tournament players. And what would happen is, you'd sign up for a poker training site, and then you'd watch a training, a tournament video or two, and then it'd be a Raz video, and then a cash game video for weeks at a time. And I'd be like, well, I'm paying all this money and I don't play these forms of poker. So we said, there's got to be more people like us. So let's just start our own training site. And the goal was really just to create a community to hang out and talk poker, and also for people to learn. And we said, if we break even, but we have a fun, engaging place to hang out, then it's cool. You know what I mean? We never really expected it to turn into a business. And I think when we did our original business plan, which I really need to have Diego send to me because it's probably hilarious to read, we thought we could maybe break even in like 9 months. That was kind of the goal, was to reach break even in 9 months and then just stay break even. Turns out we were profitable in 30 days, and it just took off. Like, we had never expected it to. It kind of turned into a whole, almost a job, really. And it smooth sailing for a year. We started the company, I believe it was 2000, or we turned the lights on, let's say. It was April 15th, 2010. I think that's the right year. So exactly 1 year later was April 15th, 2011. I hope I have these dates right.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, which is Black Friday. And we were mostly American pros playing on, Poker Stars and Full Tilt. And overnight, those sites were all gone. And we were like, we are doomed. We lost like 60% of our subscribers within 90 days. It was just a mess. And so we had to make some real hard decisions. We bought some of our partners out, brought in some new pros we had guys from Australia and England and Canada and all over the place. And we just kind of shifted gears and just kept going, and refused to ever shut it down. And it just came back bigger than it ever had been before. And it's still going technically to this day.
Yeah, sure it is. In fact, so I know, Derek, you've stopped adding new material to the site, but it still has, hundreds, if not thousands of like watchable hours of training content. We're going to give away at least one free month of membership just tonight on the show. People stick around to the food bank drive. And I will say, if you're in the YouTube chat and you've got a question for Derek, type it in there and we'll ask it. And of course, anyone here in the panel as well, we'd love to hear from you for Derek Tenbusch from TPE. So that must have been you must have felt pretty confident after you'd made that pivot, because that was a time that a lot of poker industry companies had they were not going to make it through that change. So that you must have felt really good having found that way to still exist and to have that carry through to the earlier time.
Yeah, and I'll never know exactly why we survived and somebody like Card Runners didn't, or Deuces Cracked, or all these huge companies. They were always all much bigger than us. I believe it's because we made a real concerted effort to know our subscribers. They weren't just customers. I mean, we would have meetups every time we went to the World Series and to Atlantic City and stuff like that. We had long before Twitch, we had a chat room embedded into our website. So while we were playing our sessions, we would hang out in there and talk hands and just sweat each other to victories and joke about stuff. And we would give away tons of merchandise to people. We didn't really try to sell it and make a ton of money. And I think because of that, there's still people to this day who come into my Twitch channel and be like, man, I signed up for TP in 2013 or whatever, and it was the greatest. And that's always cool to hear. And I think that's kind of what kept us going. We also we ran the company pretty much ourselves. I mean, Diego did all the tech stuff. I did all the marketing. A lot of we had 3 other owners who contributed content, guys like Big Dog Pocket Fives. So we were able to keep our costs pretty low, which is probably what kept us through. But it's crazy because I had moved to Las Vegas about 5 years ago. I decided to sort of semi-retire, and I was going to keep working on TPE as sort of a side hustle or whatever, or even maybe put more focus on it. But I was out there about 9 months, and a former colleague had kept contacting me saying, please come back. You got to do I had been doing marketing for this brewery. And they're like, come back, I need you. And then one day he's like, hey, I'm starting a distillery. Do you want to come back and be a partner in this distillery? And I was like, I do like whiskey. So we turned right around. We had sold out our house and sold all of our possessions. We had nothing, but everything we owned fit a Jeep, except for our dogs. They had to ride in the other car. But so I turned around and came back. Long story short, the distillery became a much bigger venture than I had anticipated. So I got so busy that I couldn't, I didn't have time to really work on TP at all. Diego's a vice president of marketing for a big tech company up in New York. And we just got so busy that it was kind of getting to the point where we were still continuing to put out content and stuff, but we couldn't engage. And that's why, to my point about community, we couldn't really engage like we used to. Clayton took over the podcast. We weren't really appearing on it all that often. We weren't as active in the forums as we wanted to be. We were just like, you know what? This feels wrong almost. I don't want to do this way if we're not really into it. So we said, well, why don't we just, we debated, do we just shut it down? Do we sell it? What do we do? And we said, well, why don't we just, there's 3,000 videos up there on the website. Why don't we just stop creating content, let the community live on? And if people want to come and go or leave or, we get signups every day from people who've just joined for the first time. So it's still going. We may return to creating content again someday, but for now we kind of put the focus on the podcast and sort of and Twitch and sort of different avenues of reaching that community, I guess you could say.
Well, a lot of this stuff sounds really familiar. I know, I've been listening to the TPE podcast since you guys started it up, and it's been interesting to watch your organization evolve. RecPoker also started as a community, as a way to find other like-minded folks who enjoyed the fun of poker and, sharing their love of poker and, an encouraging in a positive way. And like you guys, you're looking at the team that runs it here. It's the Wrecking Crew, it's a labor of love for sure. And we get so much out of it. I'm sure you also, we find when you're teaching, you're learning, when you're sharing your love, you're enjoying your love. It's a very rewarding way to spend our time. Now that you've transitioned to streaming quite a lot, what's that experience like, and what sort of the feedback and how does that differ from from sort of creating the site and teaching to this more real-time streaming experience?
Yeah, so I really started streaming on Twitch strictly as a marketing play. You know, I think I logged on one day and I saw Jamie Staples streaming, and I was like, oh, this would be a great, if I could just figure out a way to get an audience that I can just plug TPE links in the chat all day long and get people to sign up. And I think back then, I actually tweeted about this a couple of weeks back. It used to be if you logged into the Twitch poker directory, there were 5 or 6 people streaming, and that was it. It was like me, Jamie Staples, and like 3 other dudes.
Yeah.
And so it kind of, I quickly realized it wasn't going to work if I used it strictly as a money making tool or a marketing play. And I found out that immediate, and this kind of goes to your question of what that feedback is like. The immediacy of that feedback is so much more like enriching as a human. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Of course, the whole time I was also thinking, wow, this is going to put us right out of business because people are just going to start coaching on Twitch for free.
Right.
So I ended up, and I do still have links to TPE, because when I first started, I had like TPE banners and all this stuff. And I still have links in my chat, but they only kind of go if somebody types TPE or whatever. But I started enjoying it so much and making so many good friends and just enjoying the whole process that I just started doing it for my own personal enjoyment. So what kind of started as a business move turned more into just a personal fulfilling thing. And it's been an absolute blast. I actually, before I jumped on here, because I was like, oh shoot, what if they asked me when I started streaming and all this stuff, and I'm not going to be able to remember. And it's been about 9 years actually, almost 10, because I had to look it up. But I pulled up my streaming hours, and I think if I read it right, it was something like 6,000 hours of streaming since this website started tracking, which was actually a couple of years after I started streaming.
Right.
So I've put in a lot of time. I don't put in as much anymore. I used to stream 4 nights, sometimes 5 nights a week. Now it's 2 or 3, just because the distillery has gotten so busy. But I still absolutely adore it. In fact, to be very honest, I actually enjoy it way more than I enjoy playing poker.
Oh yeah.
I joke with people in my stream all the time. Like if I didn't stream, I'd probably play poker like once a month. Which is not to say I don't enjoy poker. I very much do. But it's a lot easier to say, oh, I just won't play tonight because I need to work on this other project for work, or I need to spend time with my wife, which she would probably hate. But yeah, so it kind of keeps me on the grind in a lot of ways,
Sure.
And it's just been an absolute blast. I think I was fortunate enough to kind of figure out, to find my way along Twitch way before a lot of people, because I kind of going back to what I was saying about being good at poker, I learned pretty quickly I didn't want it to be an educational, quote unquote, educational stream. So for anybody who's watched my stream, you'll know I don't spend a whole lot of time talking through my decisions or hand histories, I spend a lot more time, taking a drink of beer or doing stupid celebrations or raising money for Beagles, because I just find that aspect so much more enjoyable.
That makes total sense to me, and it's very obvious to people that tune in how much fun you're having and where your passion lies. It sounds like passion is something that does sort of drive you. And I'll open this up if anyone on the panel has any questions. Feel free to just unmute and jump in. But I could go for I'll fill the void. Is that like? Do you feel like there must be something about your life that's allowed you to kind of follow these passions of yours? Can you kind of put your finger on what it is? Are you just lucky? Have you created a structure for yourself that allows this? Speak to that a little.
There's a little bit of luck involved. But so when I finished, I really only went to college because I lived in a very small town in northern Michigan and I couldn't wait to get out, and I just wanted to go start a rock band. So I really went to college just to start a rock band. And I figured, well, I'll have to take classes while I'm there, but at least I could meet some people who like to play music and we can do our thing. So then when, I finished undergrad, and I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. So then I just went to grad school. I was like, well, I'll just go get a master's degree and keep playing in my band. But then when that was over, I was like, well, it's either PhD, which I really don't want to do, or I need to go find a job. And then it kind of dawned on me, this is pretty early this is 1995 that I finished grad school. Information wasn't as readily available as it is now with the internet.
Sure.
But at some point, I think it was one of my advisors said, you can work in the music industry. Like, you don't have to be a rock star. And I'm like, no, you can't just go work in the music business. Like, that's silly. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But sure enough, you can. So I packed up my car with $200 cash in my pocket. And I drove to Los Angeles and tried to get in the music business. And I was in the music industry about 10, 12 years, I guess. And when I left it, that's when the reality set in that I had actually never really worked that whole 12 years because I wanted to be in the music business so bad. I would have done it for free if I didn't need to pay rent. And I realized I could never go do a job that I wasn't happy doing. Like, I have this saying, which is an exaggeration, admittedly, but I always say, if you're 99% happy with your job, you should quit.
I love
because you and find a job that you're 100% happy with. So it took me a while to figure out what that was going to be, because I really only ever wanted to be in the music industry. And that's when, and I was so into poker in the year or so after I got laid off from my last job. So when Diego brought up the idea of starting a poker company, I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And again, that was, 4 years or so of never feeling like I was working.
Right.
Diego and I would be on at that time AOL Instant Messenger at 3 a.m, like working, redesigning the site or creating content or whatever. And it just never felt like work for a day. And then when TP kind of got rolling and it was almost like it ran itself in a lot of ways, I was kind of like, well, now I'm kind of bored. So what else can I do that's like really, really fun? And I had gotten into home brewing and had really gotten into drinking craft beer. And I was like, I'm just going to go work at a brewery. Screw it. So I just started going to breweries and hanging out, drinking beer, meeting the employees, meeting the owners. And like a year later, I got my first job in craft beer, did that for about 5 years, left. Then I was like, well, I guess I could start a distillery. That would be fun. So to this day, like my very first job, I was like 12. I used to pick beans in Michigan. That was the last time I feel like I worked. Like, I don't feel like I've ever worked a day since. Doesn't mean I didn't do hard work, but I wasn't working. So it's super important to me. And I tell people all the time, like my chat probably hates it because I spend so much time just talking about life and stuff on my stream. And I'll be like, dudes, go find, I don't care what you're into. If you're into Legos, then go find a way to make money around Legos. I don't care what the thing is. But just stop being miserable, man. I saw a TikTok the other day. Yes, I'm on TikTok. And it was a guy my age, and he was talking about the average life expectancy. And he said, I only have 27 summers left. And I was like, oh shit. I best get to work enjoying life even more.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, I preach it all the time, and people get really tired of hearing it.
I think that's a great attitude, though. Here, Ben Enslow, you've got something to say or ask, I think. Jump in.
I appreciate you for coming on and getting back to me and getting on the show. It was you who came in my chat, and then I was like, I got to make sure I message Derek and ask him to come on the show. It's been such a great conversation. But I got to know about the Beagles. I got to know about the Beagles because I'm so curious. I've watched the stream before and stuff. So I just love to hear your insides on the Beagle Foundation and stuff you're working on there.
Yeah. So my wife and I's first dog was a Beagle, and she lived about 18, but before she passed away, she actually got loose. She was probably 15, 16 years old. She was on the run for 2 weeks. And we had, reached out to all these organizations trying to help find her and stuff. And one that was very helpful was Triangle Beagle Rescue, which is the organization we work with. And I think it was, so then when Tammy, my dog, passed away, we sent them a small donation and just said, in her honor or whatever. And I think maybe 3-4 months later, we got a postcard saying, would you like to foster or volunteer? Which I assume they send to everybody who donates. And we just started doing some very like minor volunteer work and stuff like that. And then it just kind of spiraled. She's on the board, does all their marketing and social media and events and stuff like that. And we still foster fairly often, although we our dog Spot was a foster failure. So he was a foster with us for a year. And then we realized he was not leaving. So, so he's ours now. And he doesn't get along so good with other dogs. So we don't foster as much anymore. But in fairness, she does all the heavy lifting on the Beagle stuff. Like I do my annual stream. And you know, I'll transport dogs and help out at events and stuff like that. But I mean, she's the real rock star when it comes to that. But it's just kind of become I almost think of it as my vacation from my vacation. Like I love streaming so much and I love, you know, poker and running the distillery and stuff. But you do have to take some time, I think, every once in a while to just like do something for others or to give back a little bit or something and just not be in front of a computer. So it gets us outside and it gets us doing fun stuff. But it's a real passion. And I think, so I have my 9th annual charity stream coming up in November. And I think in the previous 8, we've probably raised somewhere around $25,000 for the rescue, just through that Twitch stream. And it's a all volunteer run organization. You know, there's no paid CEOs or anything like that. All the dogs are kept in people's homes, so we don't even have like a facility or anything. So it's really rewarding to me knowing that like every penny goes to actually rescuing animals as opposed to like the electric bill or the CEO or marketing costs or whatever. So yeah, it's a lot of fun and it's an adventure. Sometimes I'll come home from like, you know, a night out or something and there'll be like 4 dogs in my office and I'm like, what is going on here?
Well, it's a great cause and good for you for, you know, using your position and your platform to help that out. And let's connect offline. I'd love to donate some prizes if there's a way you can maybe have an auction or a raffle or something and make some extra
I
money
appreciate
during the
that.
stream. Yeah, no, we'll make that happen for sure.
Cool.
Joe, oh sorry, no, go ahead, Derek.
Oh, I just said cool.
Oh, awesome. Joe, did you have something there? I saw you just unmute for a moment.
Yeah, I was just going to say that those of us who do charitable work for humans always are quite jealous of those doing work for animals because I may raise $25,000 in a year doing all this work for human stuff. And then my technician who works for me raises money for feral cats and she always quadruples or quintuples whatever I bring in during my events. So
yeah,
I mean, it's good work, but
yeah. It's true of everything too. It's funny that we're having this conversation now because I was over at the distillery this morning and I opened up the door to the warehouse and a cat ran in and I was like, well, I guess we have ourselves a distillery cat now. And I posted a picture of it to the distillery's Instagram and it instantly had like 3 times the likes of any of our posts about our liquor. And I'm like, you know, we do make liquor too. If you guys want to buy some, we don't just post cute cat pictures, but it's without a doubt, every one of our top rated posts involves animals. It never fails. People just love to help animals, which is very cool because they can help themselves. So
yeah, and they're cuter than us too.
Definitely.
Like hands down. John, did you have something?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, I think, you know, the animals get it because I've never met an animal that didn't deserve whatever donation it's getting. Whereas people, I don't know so much. But I was going to ask, how much of a factor in the success of TPE do you think was that it went after tournaments as opposed to just poker overall? Because at the time, I think you were the only site that really focused on that.
Yeah, I think that was a big part of it. We heard it all the time from people. They would say the same thing that Diego and I said when we started the company. They're like, yeah, like I was a member of such and such site, but they just started putting out nothing but cash game content. And I wasn't interested in that. So yeah, I do think that was a big factor for sure. And on a related note, I think that's why the podcast is so successful too. I think people they want to listen to the very specific thing that they're into. Now, I sometimes ask myself the question, if we had done other content, would we have been even bigger? I don't know. I think it probably, being that niche, probably extended our life as long as it has, more so than the other sites. But could we have been bigger? Hard to say. We bought the name Cash Poker Edge, and I think some other ones like Home Game Poker Edge. Like I think we bought a bunch of names like that because we were like, well, we'll just create all these like satellite sites. But we quickly realized we didn't have time for that. We could barely run the site ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to produce cash game content because, you know, you sit down and you play an hour of cash games and every hand is just as meaningful as every other hand. Some might be more interesting But in tournaments, there are lulls, and there's more involved. So I think everyone else was going for the cheap cash grab because, pun intended, maybe. That's just a little bit easier. But I think it's nice to have a tournament focused site around as well.
Yeah, it reminds me of something I said to somebody not too long ago, which was that a cash hand video or review is almost like it's like a 15-second TikTok or something, whereas like a tournament hand review is more like a movie, because it's like there's all these villains at the table. A cash game is against a hand is against one person, and it's a one instance, and you can rebuy and have your stack to be the exact same as it was before the hand, or you can stand up and leave and come back 2 hours later. But a tournament is all these like highs and lows and day ones and day twos and dinner breaks, and there's just so much action or lack of action, honestly. Like sometimes you fold for 2 hours. So yeah, I think people are naturally just drawn to that. There's a reason that the moneymaker boom was what it was, because he lived all those highs and lows.
So as someone who has curated content and training material for so long, tell us, what are a couple mistakes that recreational players make that would just be some low-hanging fruit for them to really just bring up the tail end of their game?
Yeah, there's a few that I see all the time, and some of them are very simple, but then you explain it to them, oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I mean, the one that I see the most, like if I go play in a friendly home game or even every once in a while, I'll still go play in a bar league game just because it's fun, is the importance of position. Like, and I didn't realize it for like the first 2 years of playing poker. I'm like, I don't care. What's it matter who acts first or last? You're just trying to make the best hand. And, you want to have a better hand than them. It doesn't really matter to me if I go first or last. But then you start looking at your win rate in position versus out of position, and you go, whoa, okay, I'm going to start paying a little more attention to this. The other is bet sizing. And by the way, my bet sizing is terrible. And it's so like, if anybody who's watched my stream was really paying attention, they would know every time based on my like pre-flop raise sizes what my hand is, because it's ridiculous. It's like so transparent. It's like, especially on a site like ACR where people are calling whether you make it 2x or 4x. If I 4x, I probably have aces because I know I'm getting callers, so I might as well make the pot as big as possible.
Max exploit, do it.
Yeah. But in a more advanced game, eventually you are going to want to learn how to size your bets. And sometimes that's just as simple as sizing them so that you can get it all in by the river, calculating what size you need to make it on the flop, turn, and flop and turn so that you can get a good pot size bet in on the river. And then the third one is actually one that I never really thought a ton about, but I actually heard my friend Carlos Welch answer the same question not too long ago. And he talked about targeting. And figuring out when you make a bet, what hands are you trying to get to fold, or what hands are you trying to get calls from? And again, especially later in my streams as opposed to earlier, sometimes I'm not even thinking about what I'm trying to do. I'm just like, I got trips, I'm all in. Like forget the fact that he or she can't call with anything except a hand that beats me. It doesn't matter. I'll right. But those are three of the biggest things that I see.
I think those are great. Those are great things that everyone should pay attention to. So Derek, I'm so appreciative of you taking this time to share some history and some knowledge with the RecPoker audience. If folks want to get more involved, they can go to tournamentpokeredge.com. What's the Twitch handle and what's the Twitter handle? How can folks get a hold of you?
So I am at Derek Tenbusch on Twitter, or X. Never going to get used to that.
Yeah, no, it does not feel right. No.
Which people never can remember how to spell. But if you just type in Killingbird, you'll find it, because nobody else uses that word anywhere on Twitter except for me. And then twitch.tv/Killingbird is my Twitch handle. We do a Tuesday night home game every week. And then almost every weekend, almost every Sunday, we do a TPE free roll, which is 1K. It's capped at 400 people. So we try to keep it as small as we can so that, it truly is mostly community members and not just random bots from Russia.
Yeah.
That's our goal anyway. We haven't quite succeeded 100% yet, but we're getting there.
Good, that's great.
So those are the easiest places to find me for sure. And of course, Tournament Poker Edge podcast available on, Apple, Google Play, Spotify, wherever else you listen to podcasts.
Wherever fine podcasts can be found. Well,
Yeah.
we'll make sure to include all those links in the show notes. Hopefully we'll get a Steelers Dolphins AFC championship game this year that we can look forward to. And just congratulations again. And let's connect over the next little while and make sure we can set up some support for that charity stream you're doing. That's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you get to raise a lot of money for Beagles all around. Thank you again, Derek Tenbusch. This was a pleasure.
Thank you. Cheers, guys. Have a great night.
All right. Well, we're going to do our food bank raffle here. We're going to give away a month at Tournament Poker Edge, compliments of our one and only Derek Tenbusch there. So while we go through some new home game results, why don't you all start typing food bank into the chat, and then we'll have our raffle. Chris and Joe, you guys figure out if it's the Daiso cam or the nerdy monster screen sharing thing. I'll let you guys sort that out in the meantime. John Somsky, before you get started, I just want to mention that people should pay attention, because in October, we're going to be changing our premium event schedule a little bit. We're sliding some events a little later in the evening, because we've got all these fantastic new members from the West Coast that can't get home at 4:30 Pacific time. So on Thursday nights, we'll be sliding a few events later in the evening. So look forward to that in October. We've also got some new Wrecking Crew members coming on board. We've also got some new study groups coming in. We've got a lot of exciting stuff coming in October, so stay tuned for that. John, we'll go through some home game results, and then Rob, why don't you share some details about the new prize layer that we're adding on for premium members in our own home game club. But John, please, without further ado, who's up lately?
Well, we'll start off with our Mixed Game Championship Series. This is a reminder, we have two different championship series, the No Limit Hold'em and the Mixed Game Championship. They are played the first and second Wednesday of each month, respectively. And what's different about those is you accrue points throughout the year, and your top 10 scores count towards Player of the Year points race. And the winner of that Player of the Year points race will get a bronze pin. So on September 13th, we played horse, and Elvis76, Steve Krebs, got his first mixed game victory.
Right on.
Gopher Boy TJM, also known as Taylor, maintains a stunning 50-point lead in the POY race. So I am calling to someone, if you have won a tournament this year, try to win another. It's going to take a win, maybe two, to dethrone him, but I think that should be everyone's goal.
Oh, please do. Oh, for God's sake. You all don't have to work with the guy for the rest of the year. Please let someone knock Taylor off his perch.
Well, and it should be known that he won last year, so don't feel sorry for him. He's got enough accolades and trophies. He doesn't need any more.
So he wins enough around here, trust me. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Come kick his butt and win a couple of these last monthly home games.
We also had our daily series, Tournament of Champions. So once a month, everyone who won a game, a daily series home game the previous month gets to play. So on September 11th, Digging 8 Graves got his first Tournament of Champions win, and with that earns a coveted silver pin.
They're good looking.
And Slim Jim 4D Win got his first nightly victory. Jasper Jr., Pat Barry, got his second nightly victory for the year. Pokerloon 91 got his or her first international victory. Evil Roy CA, David Westerveld, got his sixth international victory, 62 lifetime victories.
Insane.
J May USA, Jun Namoto, won the LPP event, so he or she can contact info at rec.poker for the free month at Learn Pro Poker. But then last but not least, Jasper Jr., Pat Barry, won the Heads Up event. So he gets to play in Marek Madness. So that's 2 wins in 1 week, and that's his 27th lifetime victory.
And congratulations to Pat Barry. He had to go through a couple of excellent players and me to win that Heads Up match. He just took me to the woodshed in round number 1. I had fun, but he just showed me the nuts several times. I made some tight folds, And I know he also had to beat Jim Gibson. So two of the main gyms here at Rec Poker, he just went through like a wrecking ball. So congratulations to Pat Barry. And 2 in a week. Wow, that is impressive. And yeah, if I think it was it J May USA that won the LPP prize on Sunday. They also drove the furthest to be here because I believe they are playing from Japan. So congratulations to them on their victory. And yeah, send that email info@rec.poker and find out what you can do over at Learn Pro Poker, another fantastic site. Rob, why don't you tell us about this new point system that we're introducing, and then we'll see who's going to win a free month at Tournament Poker Edge tonight.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to track the results during the home games each month by premium members. So we're going to look at ROI. So the ROI is basically how many free chips you win for every free chip you spend, basically, right? So we're going to do a points leader for the ROI. We're going to do probably the top 5. And we're going to think about, what sort of prize that we could give away to the winner each month. So if you're not a premium member, you're not going to be eligible for this prestigious new structure that we're putting in there. So if you're not a premium member yet, get on board, become a premium member, and you could be one of the top 5 each month in the ROI contest.
There you go. And all you have to do is play in the games. There's a minimum of 4 games played in the month. So as long as you're playing 1 game a week and you're a premium member here at Rec Poker, you'll be automatically entered into that qualifying pool. And then Rob and John will get together behind the scenes, do some alchemy, and figure out who the top 5 winners are. And then we'll have some announcements about what some prizes are going to be. I think one thing we've talked about is the winner each month will get to choose to come on the podcast panel when there's a guest that they're interested in, to come and ask that guest questions and participate in the panel conversation here, talk to that guest. There's going to be some other fun stuff coming up. We're also, should I just blab it? Okay, I'm going to. We're going to be having Matt Stout on the podcast soon, who's, if you don't know who Matt Stout is, well, stick around until next week because you'll hear him on the podcast. But he's involved with the charity series of poker, and we're going to be giving away some fun prizes to do with them as well, which I'm really excited about. Okay, so anyway, if you know what, if you're not a premium member yet, consider if you use the code RecPoker in your first month, it's only $5, and it's only $15 a month after that. And to support our food bank drive tonight, I see 7 people have typed the word food bank into the YouTube chat. That's great. One of you is going to win a prize just for showing up tonight. And I'll say this to our YouTube audience and to our podcast audience at home. If you email me a screenshot of you donating $15 to a food bank near you, then I will give you a free month at Rec Poker, because one good deed deserves another, and we love supporting food banks near you here at Rec Poker. So, Joe and Chris, have you decided? Do we know who is going to be the arbiter of pleasure? Looks like it's Joe. Yeah, you're the arbiter of pleasure tonight.
What the hell is the arbiter of pleasure, and what the hell am I going to have to do? I'm a little concerned right now.
Why don't you share your screen? I've got, I count 7 entrants in the food bank draw here. Phil, Luke, the RRRCCC, Stu, K-Poker Wannabe, Joe, and Graphics 16. So that makes 7. I'm guessing you're going to roll an 8-sided nerdy die on top of these mythical beasts.
How about this? Since Derek was so nice to, and these aren't all mythical beasts, 3 of them are dogs, but
fair enough.
Got it for Chris. He demands that I have something nerdy as it is, so I threw in a wormling, which just for him. We'll call this the Jones. How about
there? You go, the Jones. Right. I love it. We've got 8. Dave is in here, so we've got 8. Yeah.
Never mind then. We're good to go.
All right. Let's see who the winner is going to be this week.
You got the order set? So
I got the order set.
I don't want Phil to complain,
bamboo
and so on. So
exactly, forget it. I don't care who it is.
Here we go.
All right, we're rolling over the nerdy creatures. Looks
4.
like a 4. So let's see. Coming down, that's Phil, Luke, the R. Stuart Carriage. Stu, you have won, sir, a free month at Tournament Poker Edge. So please. Oh, man. If you're not here in the YouTube chat on these Monday nights, you really should. We have a lot of fun here in the YouTube chat. And it's the only way to win a prize for free, just for showing up. But send that email, please, info@rec.poker. And we'll set you up with your free prize, your free month at Learn Pro Poker. Thank you for your support. And thank you to John Somsky for reminding me to reshare my audio here. I'm going to hit these cues if it kills me, because I'm off to go watch the Steelers spank the Cleveland Browns if I have my way. Is there anything else to announce tonight? I don't think so. Thanks to everyone here for joining me and having such a fantastic time. Obviously, Derek Tenbusch, what a great guest. We might have to have him back sometime. Chris, Ben, Kim, Joseph, John, Rob, and Joe the Roller. Thank you all so much. You in the YouTube chat, you the listeners at home. Thank you all. We'll see you again next week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.